And I want to, first of all, I'm PJ Lemuel. Most of you know me. Those that don't, I'll be the MC for our Necessary Trouble meeting today. And at this time, I want to welcome everyone, old, new, uh, people. If you're new, please put your name and your information in the chat so that we can keep in touch. I'm asking everyone at this time if you will mute yourselves. And I'm going to ask Becky if she will start our meeting off today by giving us a review of the agenda. Becky.
I am delighted to, and let me say, just on behalf of everybody, how very happy we are to have PJ back. So PJ, lovely to have you with us again. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good to be back, y'all.
And let me go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, and as always, big gratitude to Mary Lou for the PowerPoint. Let me say a little bit about the context in terms of today's meeting. And since the last time we gathered in June, a reminder that we had the June 21st runoff and our lovely, lovely, lovely Imani Barnes victory in that runoff. And also some really key runoffs among statewide Dems as well. We have now Bee Wynn as our candidate for Secretary of State. We have Charlie Bailey as our candidate for Lieutenant Governor. We have William Bodie as our candidate for Labor Commissioner, and Janice Laws Robinson as our Insurance Commission candidate. And let me just say that overall, we have an incredibly strong Democratic slate this year. Stacey Abrams had weighed in heavily in terms of support, and all of her candidates won, and she has helped put together an extraordinary slate. So we are in many ways in extremely well positioned. So what that means is that that puts us right on the runway for the general election. Voter registration deadline for that election is October 11th. And election day, as a reminder, lest any of us forget it for a minute, is November 8th. And we are right on the runway for all of that. The other thing, of course, that's happened since our June meeting is a number of profoundly troubling Supreme Court decisions, even after the Roe v. Wade decisions. And what that means beyond all else for us right now is that that human rights are increasingly going to depend upon state government. And that means that our election, particularly in Georgia, particularly in 2022, are more important than they have ever been. So if anything, what this does is it amplifies the importance of 2022 in Georgia. Given that context, I wanted to just say something about the agenda, which is very much shaped by that context. We are going to start, our first chunk is going to be related to the victory in the primary runoff, which so many troublers worked so hard in. We'll be hearing from Imani Barnes, and we'll be hearing from also Jennifer Smith, who was Imani's general consultant in the campaign, very pivotal to that win. And then, as many of you remember, last meeting, we decided on two other Troubler House candidates, Troubler supported House candidates, and we will be hearing from both of them today. And so we'll be hearing from Kelly Coffman, candidate for House District 53. Let me just ask if anybody's not muted, if they would mute themselves now, that would be great, getting some feedback. We'll also be hearing from Kelly's campaign manager, Morgan Copeland, and we will also be hearing from Troubler candidate Jasmine Clark. And then finally, we will have a really substantial set of Troubler updates. of the various additional kinds of work that are that's underway. And I want to say, just reviewing that agenda, it is a meaty agenda. It is substantial. It's going to be full. So thank you in advance for your patience with it, and hang in with us to the end, because it all matters a lot. So thank you. And PJ, giving this back to you.
Thank you so much, Becky. And as she said, we've got a packed agenda today. So without any further delay, let's turn it over to Karen Davenport to open and facilitate this first session with the success in the primary runoff. Karen.
Thank you so much, PJ. As we get ready to start this section of our meeting, I want to ask all of us to just take a deep breath, let it in and let it out, and be so grateful that we have the strength to be here today. And we have the power that is within us to make a difference in this world. As we get ready to talk with the success that we had in the primary runoff, and as Imani gets ready to share some words with us of her vision as our new representative at the state, I think it is really important, as we listen to Imani and Jennifer and the other candidates, to just really reinforce that we as a group of necessary troublers know the importance of getting into trouble when it's necessary to change this world. And the efforts that we have put forth and the energy that we have done is really making a big difference. So I want to turn this over to Imani as she reflects about her victory in the runoff and talking about her plans for November. Imani, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I'm driving right now. Thank you for having me today. Oh, the necessary troublers were absolutely necessary in our victory. A great team of volunteers that came together, and everybody had a hand in our win, whether it was from postcards or canvassing, or we had Lou on signs. So everybody that did something gave to this win, and it showed how community and volunteers lead to a win in a grassroots campaign. My campaign was strictly grassroots. We raised anywhere from $5 to, asking for larger sums of money. But you have to remember how much the $5 donations mean, and you have to remember how much the volunteer base means to a success like this. And so after running for Tucker race, I realized I need a team. And so I think the troublers, when we got together, we didn't realize how much of a team we needed. And so as we went on, we learned how we needed somebody for everything. And so having Jennifer, which is my campaign manager, ahead of the ship, and just telling us what we need, and then us working as a community and as the troublers as a group, we found somebody for everything, whether it was from someone who specialized in speaking and a speech coach, someone knew somebody. And so we were able to pull off a grassroots campaign with networking and community. And so I just want to thank everybody on this call that contributed to the campaign. We're going to start back up again in August, not to the same extent, because we did a lot of work in the general primaries, but we will still need a team, and we will still need to keep my face out there. And so whoever can volunteer for this next round would be great. I just want to say thank you, and I'm forever indebted to the work that was done to get us to this point. We won with 62% of the votes, so that was amazing. And we couldn't have done that without everybody who pitched in, whether it was big or small.
Thank you, Imani. Before we go and listen to Jennifer Smith, who was the general consultant with your campaign. I'm hoping you can share just a few sentences in terms of what you view as your mission as we get through November and you will move towards our representative at the Golden Dome.
So from now, I just want to keep my name out there. We still have work to do in more of the southern portion of the district. We'll get back started in August where I'm attending events, and we're going to start back fundraising soon. I believe Jennifer sent me something earlier about fundraising. We just want to continue the same fight, maybe not as intense because we are mostly Democratic district. And then I'll be taking classes on how to, be the best legislature that I can be, and just taking classes on learning how to step into the political ring. So right now, that's what I'm doing.
Okay, thank you so much, Imani. We're counting on you to represent us. We're counting
Most
on
definitely.
you to stand for the issues that we know are important in terms of Georgia laws that benefit our lives as citizens. Now we're going to listen a little bit to Jennifer Smith, and Jennifer was the general consultant to the Imani Barnes campaign. And I can say, as a participant in this process, and as Jennifer talks to us today, she really helped us understand some key issues that it takes to help a candidate win. I think the first step that we have as necessary troublers is, one, finding a candidate that really is going to fight for the issues that we think are important to us as Georgians. Someone that's going to fight for legislation that's going to make our lives better, not more difficult. So Jennifer, if you could share with us some of the things that you used to share with us on a weekly basis of the kind of areas that you need, that as we as troublers work with candidates, the kind of key areas that are helpful to put in place to help a candidate run and win. Jennifer, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Well, one, thank you very much for having me. I feel like I am in highly esteemed company, and I know most of these faces, so it's good to see you all again. Hi, PJ. So what I have been asked to go over by Karen and others is to sort of underscore the value that Pat and Becky and PJ and Lou and everybody else brings to a campaign when the necessary troublers show up, right? So I think it's important for everybody to hear that campaigns are 100% about having your win number, knowing the effectiveness and the cost of mediums to talk to undecided voters, and then knowing how much you're going to fundraise, right? You have to have that done budget to then have your plan, right? But as far as things that the campaign needs that they can get done without you guys spending the money on, Mary Lou, do you have the breakdown of the individual people? Awesome. Look how cute our candidate is, you guys. Okay, so we want to talk about the things you guys don't seem to necessarily think a ton about as far as value being real dollars saved for campaigns, right? So the first thing that I remember the necessary troublers signing up for is handling phone banking and door knocking for the campaign, right? So we had the two Pams, right? And if we were paying people to door knock, it would be $15 an hour. We had people doing it for free because of you guys' help. And so we knocked on and door knocked on almost 2,000 doors, right? That's a huge savings, right? Because of people like Pat Bird, we sent out, how many texts was it total, Pat?
The numbers are on The numbers are on the slide, a slide further down if you want the numbers.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. There we go. So we sent out 21,000 texts for a total cost to the campaign of about 2,200. What we would have spent was 7,000. So you guys can see the cost savings to the campaign, right? Robocalls are the same thing. Rod and Stephen did 7 calls. It cost us $700. The retail cost of that was $3,500. So the real savings to the campaign and the difference between it being run by Necessary Trouble and, you know, volunteers was another $2,800. Right. The mail piece was me. You guys motivated me. I cut my costs down to cost. So because of y'all being inspiring, super awesome team members, we saved another 1,400. Signs, we saved 1,500 because we didn't have to pay somebody. Lou just did all of those. Social media was kind of a big one for the runoff. Campaigns spend a ton of money on having somebody doing social media, you guys. And we had a Necessary Trouble member doing the social media and doing all of the video creation and meme creation, which is worth, you know, at least 3,500, right? And Janelle did a super amazing job with that. I don't even know if she's on the call, but that was a good 3,500 saved by the campaign. So I just want to reiterate to you guys, while we know how to win campaigns, and we need to do that over and over and over again and get more Democrats, especially Democratic women, elected in DeKalb County, you guys' financial impact on this campaign was about $15,620 just in the runoff. Like, that's huge, right? That's crazy. And Karen, if you can track that kind of impact on campaigns across the county, like, that's huge. So I think I'm good with the numbers screen, Mary Lou.
There's one more slide, but I can't remember what's on it.
Oh, I'm sure it's incredibly vital, and I will promptly forget what's on
I
it.
think it was the first slide. Never mind.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions about those actual retail values?
Hi, this is Aquaria. I don't have any questions, but I think it's amazing how you're able to capture that to show truly, you know, kind of what the value is as it relates to human, you know, capital coming in versus, you know, monetary value. And so that's truly amazing. You almost cut that in half, like 50% of what that meant over in just that, you know, amount of time. And I know for a statewide district, I mean, you know, for a state seat is not, you know, what would you say for me, what would that cost be for somebody to run in a state seat generally, budget wise?
So do you mean like a state house seat?
Yes, state house seats. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is going to sound funny because we just won a race with 62% of the vote for less than $20,000, which is not normal, you guys. Like, I just want to reiterate to everybody that is like really, really, really slim margins, right? The average winning state house race in Georgia in 2022 spent $150,000. Now, lots of people lost spending no money, right? But the average winning race was a little north of 150. And for Senate, it was 250. It's a lot of money, right?
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I have a question also, Jennifer. This is Karen McCowan. So hi, this is amazing, and you know, I've heard wonderful things about the job that you did with the Barnes campaign.
It was 100% Becky.
Well, I can see how it could be a balance between the two. So these figures, is this labor only, or does this include things like postcard postage, or the mail piece that, or the piece that the necessary trouble printed and distributed for the campaign? Or is that just?
And it depends on the lane, right? But for most of them, it's labor only, right?
Okay.
And the reason for that is we just took the $700 in printing out of the field cost. And then those savings were specific to if we had paid people $15 an hour times the almost 2,000 that we reached, right?
Right. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions?
I just had a comment.
Andrea.
That I just had a comment, and that was, I just wanted to thank you with everybody here for how much you taught us,
Exactly.
because we moved ahead a couple of light years in terms of how we know how to support a candidate in the future, and we are very grateful for that.
Yes.
Well,
They're good.
I feel really honored to get to run into a group like you guys, made up of obviously extremely intelligent, passionate, long-term community activists who are doing really, really amazing things on the ground through the party with folks like Karen. I was hired specifically by Janelle, who came through the state party with Sarah Todd. So, just a reminder to you guys, people who do this for a living are out there. You don't have to have them, but it can make life a little easier. And what I offered to Karen early on is I win races for a living. It's literally 100% of what I do. And I've done it for 21 years and I've done more than 800 races. I have an 84% win rate. My passion is getting good progressive Democratic women elected. And what you guys gave me the opportunity to do was what I love doing in an environment that was really warm and nurturing and helpful. And I mean, look, if I just bask in Becky Butler's glow every day, I'm a happy girl, right? But I got to do what I love to do in a really positive environment. And for that, I thank you guys. I have a lot of campaigns that are draining and drama filled, and you guys were the opposite of that every day. So thank you for that.
And thank you, Jennifer. As Mary Lou said, we learned so much. And as we move forward, we want more and more candidates, women candidates, that really are going to be about the business of making this world better. So thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Okay. All right. I'm going to turn this back over to PJ. Thank you.
Can I just jump in before we keep moving? Sandra, it looks like Sandra Menes has had her hand up.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm going to make this very quick. I know we have a big agenda. Jennifer, would you say something, or Imani, about how many new voters this campaign brought into the political process? I was so impressed by that, and I think it bodes very well for the general election.
Do we still have Imani? Do we want Imani to jump in?
I'm here. I don't have the exact numbers. I do know that we got 3,000 votes in the first election, and then in the runoff we got 2,000. So I thought that was amazing. If anybody else has the specific numbers, I do not know how many new voters we attained.
But Imani, I think it might be helpful to talk a little bit about some of the ways that you reached out to younger voters, to share that information with the group.
Okay, so we used, and we went 100% at each method. So the mailers we got new artwork for our signage, which we put on the mailers, which was captivating and youth, I would say just bright and different. And that made a difference on the mailers, to the point where I was getting messages where people weren't even throwing them out. They were saving them. We did heavy social media, especially in the runoff. We posted 3 to 4 times a week. And most likely we posted every day, but major posts, we posted 3 to 4 times a week, where we highlighted regular voters of DeKalb, not just political endorsements. We got individual citizens endorsements, which was huge. It brought a lot of traffic to social media. And it also showed that I had support from the average citizen. we also hit several platforms. So we didn't just do Facebook. So different platforms are geared to different age groups. So Facebook was more for our older adults. Social media for teenagers and our younger adults were more geared to Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok. And so that's how we kept all demographics involved. The mailers, we hit postcards the first go round, and the runoffs, we did big flyers. So just keeping people engaged with different platforms was the key. Giving them different options. Not everybody gets snail mail. We hit them with the internet. We hit them with the website. We kept updated. And so just being able to have different platforms around networking and meeting people was huge. So joining the Facebook groups, the mom groups, the political groups, the DeKalb groups, just being involved in all those groups on social media and getting things out in the mail.
So as we close this section of the meeting today, I guess we all are reminded that all of those mediums that Imani has shared with us, and as she moves into representing us at the Golden Dome, we have to keep making that contact so that voters who this is their first time will know the importance of voting and how it impacts their lives. Thank you so much, Imani. Thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to turn it back.
Thank you.
Over to PJ. I'm turning it back over to PJ. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And we've got a couple of seconds before I have to start the next segment. But I want to say that this was the most exhilarating experience that I have had on election night. I couldn't go to sleep. I'm usually in bed at 8 o'clock. I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. And the emails kept coming in, and the count kept coming in, and finally, when I saw that we had trounced the opponent, okay, I went to sleep. Okay, but it was the best experience that I have had, and I right now I just want to take a second. All the troublers, okay, raise your hand in applause. We were the little engine that could and did. Okay. All right. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move to the next segment, and we're going to ask Pat to introduce and facilitate the next section on the two other candidates for November that Necessary Trouble is looking forward to supporting. Pat.
Thank you, PJ. At our last meeting, we had a long discussion about the different possibilities for local campaigns to support, and we then ended up voting to support Jasmine Clark in House District 108 and Kelly Coffman in House District 53. And part of that is with Jasmine, we're working to save that, to keep that district Democratic. And with Kelly, we're working to flip that one to add another House district to the Democratic column. As we're working this through November, we're really working at the local level in order to achieve the goal of giving Stacey Abrams the team that she needs to be successful as governor. She can't govern if she doesn't have more supporters in all of the statewide roles and also in the General Assembly. So we're going to be working very hard to make a big change in the whole state by making changes at the local level. And then, of course, we would certainly be supporting a lot of the state level candidates too. Karen McCowan now will be introducing Kelly Coffman.
Thank you, Pat. I'm really delighted to introduce Dr. Kelly Coffman, who is a first-time candidate who is running for House District 53. As Pat just mentioned, it is essential for us to win districts like House District 53 in order for Democrats to gain seats across the board in the Georgia House. because of the demographic shifts that happened with redistricting, there are going to be seats that Democrats now should gain that we might not have before. But equally important are some districts that are nearer to the 50-50 mark with Democrats and Republicans that it is really important for us to also pick up in order to solidify those gains. But I'm really eager for you to all to meet Kelly. So I'm going to step aside right now and have her speak. I will also be monitoring the chat, by the way, for questions that we can put to Kelly after she finishes. So please put your questions in the chat. Thanks, and over to you, Kelly.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate the warm introduction, and it's great to get the opportunity to speak to you all today. I don't know that I can properly thank you all for your support. I've heard great things about the work that Necessary Trouble does, and I am just kind of dumbstruck, awestruck. I'm not sure what the right word is, but very appreciative. So as Karen said, I'm a new candidate. I'm a psychiatrist. I specialize in reproductive psychiatry, which is focusing on pregnant and postpartum women. And so the issue of abortion and women's health care is not just something that's personal to me, it's also something I encounter in my everyday professional life. I'm a mother of 3. I have a 6-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 4-month-old, and they keep me very busy. But they are also my why. So I was pregnant with Eleanor, the 4-month-old, when I was 38 weeks pregnant and asked to jump into this race because I should give you a quick background, actually. So District 53 is a brand new district, and it was created specifically for the purpose to bring back a woman named Deborah Silcox, who was defeated by Representative Shay Roberts in 2020. So Ms. Silcox is an attorney. She lives in Sandy Springs, grew up there, raised her children there, has a fairly large presence in the Sandy Springs arena. And she was serving in the Georgia House. Current Representative Shay Roberts jumped into the race in 2018, lost her first race, and then defeated Deborah Silcox in her second race in 2020. Now, I should add that Shay Roberts, Representative Roberts, raised upwards of $300,000 in order to do that. So while I hear you all that the average winning budget is about $150,000 for a Georgia State House seat, I am expected to raise about $250,000, and the caucus thinks that we may even need to push that up further to $275,000. We are prepared to do that. I should say that I don't jump into anything without expecting that I can put up a good fight and win. So I'm very prepared to do this, and we are on track, which is surprising for both myself and my campaign manager. It's our first time doing this. And given that it's been trial by fire, we're actually doing really well. We managed to raise about $40,000 just in the month of June, which is pretty remarkable considering the summertime tends to be kind of a low month for what I hear. People tend to get busy with family. So we are moving forward with fundraising. We have a bunch of meet and greets scheduled. We have fundraisers scheduled. I truly think that aside from the, raising the money piece and just having adequate funding to fully fund the consultants that we have on hand, which we've been set up with both a digital team and a print media team that are fantastic and do this for all kinds of campaigns. Our print team works for Stacey Abrams' campaign and has for the past couple of years, so they certainly know what they're doing. And aside from designing our print mail, they also serve as campaign advisors. So I'm surrounded by really smart, excellent people. So we have them on board, and we meet weekly. I do have a private practice that I am still working in, and that has been pared down a bit so that I have time to focus on the campaign. I will say the caucus kind of sold campaigning as a part-time job to me, which I found out to be very untrue. And the good thing is that, I had already kind of scaled my practice back a bit in anticipation of having a new baby. And so I had a little more time to dedicate to the campaign. And then being my own boss, I'm able to scale that back a little further for August and September, and really kind of gearing up towards what I know is going to be a good fight. So the good news is I don't want this to seem doom and gloom. This race is very winnable, and I am expecting to win. I made a comment to my husband the other night, and I said, you know what, like, I think I'm going to do this. And he said, I know, isn't that the scary thing? So it's exciting. And I think that because I'm a new face, the other really important piece is just helping me to become more of a known entity, right? So as a psychiatrist, I know that people are really afraid of who they don't know, what they don't know. And because Deborah Silcox is kind of this known entity in the Sandy Springs area, some people may find that more comfortable, even if they disagree with her. Well, I am set out to meet as many people in person as I can, and as many people as I can't meet in person, I'll be meeting hopefully through videos that our campaign will be filming and then uploading to YouTube that will be accessible through our website. So we have a lot of great strategies out there, but all of the door knocking, all of the phone banking and texting that you guys can help with will only add to that. And quite clearly, you've just shown me how robust and effective you all can be. And, I'm just so grateful and excited for all of your help too. So I feel like I'm rambling at this point, and I don't want to take up too much time, but I'd really love to see if anyone has questions about me, about the campaign. My campaign manager, unfortunately, can't be here today. She has had kind of a family emergency that came up at the last minute, but I can hopefully answer as many of the questions for her that you may have had. And if not, I'm happy to take notes and get back to you. So thank you.
Thank you. Martha Reese, do you have a—
Yeah, I can't figure out how to put the little hand icon up there. I just would like you to go over, since I'm ignorant, to compare yourself with your opponent, and just in a substantive way, what are your main points and how are you different?
Absolutely. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So as a physician, I support fully expanding Medicaid. My opponent, just a quick background on her. So she is very much someone who comes across as polite and a nice, moderate person to your face, but she definitely votes party line. And so she has not voted, well, I guess there has been no attempt to expand Medicaid, but that is not something that she would necessarily support. She is a friend of the NRA. She has supported some of the, the gun expansion bills. Now, she was not, of course, in the House when the recent, what am I going to call it? What is it's not the gun.
Carry.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you, Karen. When permitless carry went through, of course, she was not in the House, so she was not able to vote on that, but she has supported other kind of more pro-gun bills in the past. I believe that the gun violence epidemic, I believe that we're in the middle of a public health crisis, and that we really need to think about gun violence the way that we think about other public health issues. And some of those things include, the way we looked at smoking, the way we looked at cardiac disease, the way we've approached COVID, which I know that's a little bit controversial, but I also have a master's in public health, also from Tulane. I obtained both my medical degree and my MPH there. And so I have some experience in the public health sector. I understand kind of why the CDC has been unable to do a lot of research on gun violence previously, but now that they have been able to do some of that, I think we really need to fully enable them to do more and to create some real legislation into things like, background checks for everyone. The part of that that's very difficult is that with my mental health background, I also understand that there are a lot of, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Oh, okay. I was just going to say, with my mental health background, I also understand that there are a lot of things that people believe to be true about people with mental health that aren't necessarily. And so I'm prepared to kind of help parse that out as well. With regard to women's health and the abortion piece, now, Ms. Silcox was in the House in 2019 when House Bill 481 went through, and I will tell you, she voted against it, but she did so after apologizing. And essentially what she said is that she was doing this because the people in her district told her that she had to. And she has privately said that she does not believe in a woman's right to choose, but that she knew if she voted against the bill, she would never be reelected. So those are some of the larger issues for her. She also, so when she was defeated by Representative Shay Roberts, she never conceded her election, and she stood silently by while Representative Roberts was served with paperwork challenging her win by a member of the district. It was District 52 was the one that they were running in, but a member of their district served Ms. Representative Roberts with paperwork on Mother's Day challenging her win, and it took a year for Representative Roberts to go through the legal channels until it went all the way up to the Supreme Court of Georgia, and they finally dismissed the case. But at no point did Ms. Silcox say enough is enough. Representative Roberts won. This is her win. I concede my defeat. And my point of view is that silence is complicity, right? Like, you are, by not speaking out against this, you are agreeing with it. And so there is this, she's been very much kind of part of the old boys club within the GOP for some time.
Excellent. One more question. Beth Arno and Steve Weisbrod, I believe.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for running. I think your children's and our grandchildren's future depends on people like you. If I could ask you to maybe on chat, give us your contact information. Email address would be great, because I would like to reach out to you soon after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm entering it right now.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining us. And again, I'm so happy for the Necessary Trouble members to meet you. And so now I will turn it back over to PJ.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Okay. I do have well, no, I don't. I thought I had a question. Okay. Oh, yes, I do have a question. Based on the information that you've given us and you came before us, is there anything that you specifically would like for Necessary Trouble to contribute to your efforts?
Well, so that's a great question, and one that Morgan and Karen and I are still working to kind of flesh out exactly what that will look like. But we do believe that canvassing would be incredibly helpful for us, as would texting and phone, like the kind of the usual things, right? All of those things to just kind of get the word out. Again, I think the two big issues are, one, people don't even realize they've been redistricted into 53. And so I think just calling people and saying, hey, did you know that you're now in House District 53? And oh, by the way, do you know who's running for your district? I think that's the first important piece. And then the second is obviously putting my name out there and explaining why they should vote for me. But we had to postpone a meeting just again because of my campaign manager's family emergency that was hopefully going to more specifically deep dive into that, but that will be coming very shortly. And we are in great touch with Karen. So.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call on Pat to introduce the next guest and the next incumbent candidate, Miss Jasmine Clark. Pat?
Yep, thank you, PJ. On May the 6th, 2018, we had the very first meeting of Necessary Trouble with Jasmine Clark. She came to Becky and my house for the meeting, and we had a chance to then sign on to work with her because she was going to flip the district, and that's what she did. She came in, she ran really hard and really smart and changed that district. In the 2020 elections, we worked with her again, and she had the same opponent then that she will have now in 2022. In 2020, she got 54, almost 55% of the vote. The issues that Jasmine is working on, affordable health care, improved public schools to meet the needs of all students, increased minimum wage so people can have better jobs, public transportation to get Gwinnett residents to work in other parts of Atlanta, climate change, and along with climate change, economic growth that can come from the expanded creation of renewable energy. And she too sees guns and gun violence as a public health issue. We really know here in Necessary Trouble, we really know Representative Dr. Jasmine Clark well. She shares the same values that we do for wanting to improve life in Georgia for all Georgians. She's an outstanding public speaker who can carry her message to many audiences, including a recent presentation on MSNBC. Her outgoing nature, her work ethic, her ability to grow and change. These are all things that we value in Representative Dr. Jasmine Clark, and we're honored to have a chance to work with her again.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Pat. I really do appreciate it. As Pat said, in 2018, Necessary Trouble was one of the first groups to meet with me and to support me and to help my campaign. And so I am forever grateful for all that Necessary Trouble does for candidates such as myself. So I want to start off by saying that because you all have been great for me, and I've seen just how much I'll do for great candidates. So thank you for that. Also, as Pat said, I was elected in 2018. I came in that blue wave, and I came in on a platform of bringing a science voice to Georgia. So a little bit about my background. I have a PhD in microbiology, and I lecture in microbiology, anatomy and physiology, as well as pathophysiology. So all those classes that people cringe when they see it on the course schedule. However, I believe that having the science background really enabled me to approach policy making from a different perspective that a lot of my current colleagues were not doing at the time. There are a lot of really important pieces of legislation that specifically and very impactfully affect people's lives and livelihood. And I think it's really important to approach these things from a science perspective, especially when it comes to healthcare, using the data in a way to actually make good policy instead of using data to undermine people or to con people, which is what our governor tried to do during the pandemic. And I had to call him out on when he did that back then. And so that's really what I've been doing. I've used that science voice to push for voting rights. I have my own voting rights story where I was turned away from the polls, and I was on the ballot when I was turned away. And so I recognize just how easy it is to suppress the vote without necessarily having barking dogs and fire hoses. That's what people picture when they picture voter suppression. But sometimes voter suppression is turning someone away, confusing people, taking their name off of the voter rolls, even though they're an active voter, making absentee voting absolutely excruciatingly painful to do. Those are also forms of voter suppression. And so I've been fighting against that as a state legislator, and I have been fighting for voting rights. Along with that, I am a huge fighter for reproductive rights. And that fight now more than ever is right here in our state legislature. House Bill 481 did pass in my first legislative term, barely, but it did pass. But one of my most memorable moments of being a state legislator was when I spoke in the well and called out the authors of that bill for making up a foundation or making up an organization and then quoting this made up organization as the basis for the bill. And so eventually they took that part out, the lies were taken out, and they were able to pass the bill again, barely pass it, but it did pass, and it's been blocked by the courts. But now, after the Supreme Court decision, all of that stuff is on the line. And so who sits in these legislative seats is so important. And I usually don't talk about my opponent, but I'm going to talk about him right now because I want it to be clear. My opponent was one of the lobbyists that not only was lobbying for HB 481 when it was going through the legislature in 2019. Not only that, he lobbied that it did not go far enough and that having exceptions for rape and incest were not good, and that he wanted those exceptions to be removed from the law. So that's who is trying to replace me in the legislature. So in 2018, I won one of the closest races in the state. I won by 250 votes, and I will not hesitate to say the necessary trouble. You were definitely a big part of getting me over the finish line. In 2020, I won with 2,500 votes. So, that speaks to the work that I've done, not only at the Capitol, but in the community. But with redistricting, they decided to draw a whole bunch of safe seats for other people and to draw my seat to be more competitive than it was in 2020. So once again, I am back in one of the most competitive seats in the entire state of Georgia. And so I'm calling on Necessary Trouble again and asking for your help and your support again, because I know because I have the evidence that when you all are in my corner, that I will do very well. And so I thank you all for inviting me today and having me. And I would love to take any questions that you all have. I will point out that we are working on postcards now. We're putting mailing labels on them. We've got some t-shirts in as well. So if you're interested in getting a t-shirt, let me know. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. So do I call them out, or?
I was going to do it,
okay.
Jasmine. Does anybody have a question? I was going to repeat PJ's question from before about any particular ways that we can work with you. Excited to see those postcards, but do you have any other ways that you're going to need volunteer help?
So yes, absolutely. So definitely postcards, and we're getting the postcards ready. And my volunteer coordinator, Jennifer, she's here as well. Here, my team is here. My campaign manager, Jake, and Jennifer are here. We're all, here in the trenches, putting those postcards together and getting them ready for you. Along with that, we will be launching our first canvas this upcoming Saturday, July 16th. And if you all are interested in joining us, more information about that will be forthcoming. You get a free shirt and you get to knock on doors and talk about how awesome Representative Jasmine Clark is. So if that sounds enticing to you, we'd love to have you on July 16th and also in the future. There will also be opportunities for phone banking and closer to the election, really in GOTV, text banking, but we like to reserve the texting to closer to the election. But yeah, so other than that, if you happen to know someone that lives in the Lilburn area, that's where I represent. If you happen to know someone who lives in the Lilburn area, tell them about me and ask them if they know who their state representative is. And if they are interested, invite them to come to a canvas or to a meet and greet. We will have all of those things coming up shortly. So those are really the ways that people can get involved with the campaign. Oh, and of course, donations. If you would like to make a donation, you can also do that as well.
I think Mary Lou is going to be putting your donation link into the chat so people can go ahead and help right now. Howard, you had a question?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Clark. Great presentation. So great to hear from you personally. I don't know if other people agree with me, but one of the things I'm really hungering for is a national effort on the part of the Democratic Party to really take the gloves off and to be more aggressive in how it pursues the lies that we hear from Republicans every day. And I could have asked this question of Dr. Coffman as well, but given that Biden's poll numbers are sinking, would statewide Republicans like yourself actually, who are running for re-election now, actually not prefer for the National Democratic Party to put a campaign like that together? Or do you really want that? And how do we all in this group and others, Democrats across the country get the nationwide, get the Democratic Party to get their butt in gear, so to speak?
That's a really good point and a good question. So in my opinion, I think that there's no consensus on the right way to approach Biden's numbers. I do think that overall Biden is doing a great job, but the job that he is doing, no one knows about it. The way I like to describe it is when Trump was in office, we were constantly stimulated. And it was just like we were overstimulated. And he wasn't necessarily doing a good job, but people just felt so involved because there was not a day that went by that he didn't do something that got us all riled up. Then you get a president that comes in and just wants to be presidential, and it's very boring. And I think that plays a huge role in the sinking numbers. People are looking for that stimulation and they're not getting it. And so if you actually look at the numbers, if you look at jobs numbers, you look at the economy, you look at all these different things, while people are saying all these horrible, bad things. And yes, I have filled up my gas tank recently and I do not like it. Overall, he's doing a really good job. But I do agree that not only do we need a stronger message, we need a stronger message engine. I think that's something that the people on the right have that we have not quite honed in. And this is something they built over time that we're just now starting to realize we need to build on our side as well. We have great messages, but no one's hearing them. It's like they're whispers compared to what's being heard from the other side. So in my personal opinion, I would love to see us amplify our good messages more, amplify the good that is happening more, and not shy away from that. As far as punching down, again, there's not consensus on that. I will, if you follow me on social media, some days I'm a little more spicy than others. That's just, just how it goes. But overall, I think whatever we do, it needs to be strategic and it needs to be loud.
Any other questions for Jasmine? Thank you so much, Jasmine, for coming and being with us today. And we're looking forward to those postcards.
Yes, we got our first 2,000 headed out to different groups. We got a lot of different groups helping, and we got 2,000 more on the way. So I'm really excited. And all of them are accounted for. So this is really great for the campaign. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
One of the things that's been going on for Necessary Trouble since our last meeting, once we had made the decision on which candidates to support, we had a team of troublers who've been working to organize our support for those candidates. And they've doing that by making contact with the campaigns so that we can say, here we are, we're ready to work, let us know what we can do. And so we're looking for all of those activities that you would expect: postcarding, canvassing, sign placement, phone banking, texting. And what we know, of course, is that those are planned out over the campaign. So we'll start with postcarding now and maybe not get to texting until right toward the end. But what would really help us would be if right now you would go into chat, put your name, and say, I want to canvas, I want to text, I want to phone bank, I want to do some postcards. Let us know which of those things are really high on your list so that we can better organize our communication with you as things come along to do. So the postcarding for Jasmine, as soon as we get those cards, the cards then come to Kate King, who will then divide them up into packets of 30 with the addresses, and to be able for y'all to come pick them up. Well, 1,000 cards to be divided up is a lot of work, and Kate could use some help. So if anybody would like to help Kate, you could just put that in chat and say, help Kate. And we'll see about getting that organized to get those out. So we're all excited. We're ready to go. 2 great candidates, and we'll be doing what we can to help them win. I'm passing this along to Becky Butler.
Thank you, Pat. And huge gratitude to Doctors Coffman and Jasmine Clark. It is so exciting to be going into this with tremendous, tremendous candidates. PJ, is there anything before I move on to Troubler updates?
No, actually, we're ahead of time. Troubler updates is just fine.
Okay, beautiful. I'm going to go ahead.
Other than thanking them for, thanking Jasmine and Dr. Clark and Dr. Coffman for their presentations and for coming on. I just wanted to thank them again. But we're ready. We're ready for you, Becky.
Okay, beautiful. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and let me also say I am very aware that this last stretch of working on Imani's runoff, that we had a ton of troublers step in and step up, and we had a ton of work underway. And it feels like as we start to shift to the general election, we also will have a ton of work to do, and some of that is going to be for those candidates and some might be for other aspects of troubler work. So we will have as much work as people are willing to do, because this election matters so much. So let me shift to updates. We're going to be talking about several different aspects of updates. One is the way in which Necessary Trouble is leveling up with social media and T-shirt web store. We're going to be talking about a new partnership between Necessary Trouble and DeKalb Dems for voter registration. We're going to be having an update on Necessary Trouble's voter protection partnership with the Democratic Party of Georgia. We're going to be having an update on the Seats of Justice, which is a project with Deborah Gonzalez, DA in Athens Clark, and a brief update about some work that some troublers for Nikita Hemingway are starting. So let me at this point turn this over to Nancy McCord, who has generously and with all of our gratitude volunteered to help Necessary Trouble with its social media presence. Yay, Nancy. Thank you. Thank you. And let me turn this over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Can y'all hear me okay? I am going to share my screen in a sec. And there's no getting in trouble in 2022 without getting involved in the internet. And so we're going to have a few more avenues to do that. First, I want to tell you that we have a website, and I'm going to see if I can share my screen so you can see it. Can y'all see that? Yeah, okay. So www.necessarytroublega.com. That is, it's like our virtual business card. It's your elevator talk when people ask you what necessary trouble is, when people are worrying. You can link them here so they can begin to get to work instead of worrying, instead of complaining. They can help campaign. The links at the bottom of the page are to our various social media feeds. Even if you don't have an account on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, you can hit those links and see what we're posting. If you have an account, we would love for you to like and follow what we're doing, starting to try to gin up each of those feeds. My goal is to post on each one twice a week. We have a Facebook group, but now we also have a public-facing Facebook page. What that means is when we post something on the public-facing Facebook page, you can share it. And that can help us just kind of branch out a little bit more. We will have more pages on here, but I just want to show you, we've got a page showing people who our wonderful candidates are that we've adopted. So how you can help: follow, like, share. If you've got information that you think would be helpful to post, you can email our email at, we have a Gmail email address now. So you can email if you've got something you think would be helpful to post, or post it on our Facebook group page and just tag me, Nancy McCord. And I can do that. And I think that's really all I need to say right now. I hope weekly to post a good rev up song. If you want to check on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter now, we've got a great 4th of July song, Freedom. You can dance to, get revved up. And I think that's it, Becky. Thanks.
Okay. Karen, were you going to ask something?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify to make sure. So Nancy, if we have some things that are informational pieces from the Democratic Party, it's okay to mail those to you?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Huge. Martha, did you have a question? Martha Reese?
I just wondered why it's a .com. Are we a profit organization or are we an ORG?
I can answer that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I can answer that from when we started Fair District, Georgia. It doesn't matter.
Okay, good. Okay. I don't want to take up time on that. I just
doesn't matter.
Great, thanks.
Let me also say just that we have so much gratitude for Nancy. Nancy's willing to do this. I have often said that I think Necessary Trouble has one of the best and most comprehensive newsletters of any grassroots group. I think we have a gorgeous newsletter. And until a week ago, we have had one of those most pathetic online presences of any grassroots groups. And so this is just an enormous uplift that Nancy is helping us into. And I really want to emphasize that for those of you that are on any of those platforms, the more you can support it, the more you can like it, the more you can share it, the more you can pass it on. All of it makes an enormous, enormous difference. So great gratitude for her and gratitude in advance for any of you willing to really jump in and help amplify this, because this is not about amplifying Necessary Trouble. This is about really amplifying the messages and the candidates and the work of Necessary Trouble, which is really what our focus is. And along with that, one of the things that we also have is the printer who has been handling our Necessary Trouble t-shirts has offered to set up a web store. And so what we are going to have is, in an ongoing way until November, we're going to have a link, and if Mary Lou would drop that in the chat, that would be great. And it will be a website where people can go anytime and order Necessary Trouble Stacy 2022 t-shirts, get them delivered, and we don't have to deal with we had some wonderful help in getting these Troubler t-shirts delivered, but now the printer is going to be doing that for us, and it's going to be much less effortful on our part. And great gratitude to all of you for passing the word on that, and that'll all go out in the follow-up.
And the link to that, Becky, is going to be on the webpage.
And the link to that will be on the
hopefully
webpage,
within the next few days.
Which is also just fantastic. Any other questions about the website or any of that social media? Great. Okay. Great gratitude. And now I'm going to turn this over to Janet Grant, who is going to talk about the voter registration partnership between Necessary Trouble and the DeKalb Dems. Janet, it is all yours.
Great. Thank you very much, Becky. And thanks for having me today. And I'm really excited to talk about this new project that we are working on. That is a partnership, as Becky said, between Necessary Trouble and the DeKalb Dems, that I'm involved with both, and both understand the importance of what we're going to talk about today. So let me get this slide deck going there. Some of you have probably seen this information in the AJC. There were a series of articles that I think Mark Nisi did in like maybe the March, April timeframe. And what it talked about was that when the Department of Driver Services changed their website, that supposedly inadvertently, some of us have some questions about how this happened, but inadvertently changed from having an opt-out when someone comes and renews their driver's license or gets a driver's license for their voter registration, to requiring there to be an active yes or no on the part of that person when they are either getting a new driver's license or renewing their driver's license. That little change doesn't sound like it could be that big of a deal, but you can see on this chart that it was a very big deal. So Georgia joined a number of other states back in 2016 to have this opt-out piece in terms of automatic voter registration when getting driver's license. And you can see that it went up significantly in terms of folks being registered to vote. And in January of 2021, when this change happened, it plummeted in actually more than half. So there were, and this was about a year and a quarter until it was recognized. And we have to thank our friend Syra Draper, who really did the research with a team that she had, did the research and then worked with the AJC in order to publicize this. And fortunately, the Department of Driver Services then did make a correction in March of this year. So many of us thought, okay, well, it's corrected and corrected for this year. But when I was pulling some data recently for my poll, I'm a poll manager, I recognized that we had the same impact here in DeKalb County in terms of, you know, back again from over time, we've had increase to the high in January of 21. And then when that DMV issue happened, we started plummeting. And unfortunately, we have not seen that rebound yet. And my concern, and many of our concerns, is that we have a very limited window between now and the midterms. Over time, this probably will self-correct over time. But right now, we only have literally 93 days until the deadline for voter registration on October the 11th. And we need to really try to address this. So we've had a drop off of over 53,000, which is 10% of our registered voters here in DeKalb. We were at a really nice place in January of 2021, where we contributed significantly as a county to the wins that we saw that happened in that runoff. We were at almost 94% of the voting age population being registered here in DeKalb. And now here we are at less than 85%. So, and I want to remind you that DeKalb is really 100% Democratic candidates, and likely all of those candidates will win again, just based on how our demographics are here in DeKalb County. But we make a major contribution to those statewide races, and those can be close. I mean, John Ossoff won by just 54,000 votes in the runoff. Warnock by 93,000. And a reminder, I didn't live here at the time, but Stacy lost by 54,000 votes. And look at where we were at for registration when Stacy lost. This amount of voters here will make and could make a huge difference for her campaign this year. So what are we going to do? We are going to go back and do traditional voter registration. I have spent the last week and a half or so talking to everybody and their brother about voter registration. And a lot of organizations that have done this historically have not been doing it because we were at that 94, 95% registered voters, especially here in DeKalb County. But again, we've got this short-term issue to address here for the midterm. So we are going to do a very concentrated effort now through the deadline, the registration deadline, which is October the 11th. A reminder that that's not just for the November election, that's also the registration deadline for December, if there's a runoff in December. We're going to use kind of a multi-tiered approach. The best practice is still doing tabling at high traffic public locations and events. We're going to train whoever is interested in working with us on how to register a voter, and we're going to get out there and talk to people and get them registered if they aren't. We're also working on some targeted approach for the high schools and colleges. There are some groups that are working with some of those, but many that are uncovered, and that's obviously a huge source of folks that could be supportive for the kinds of candidates and causes that we care about this year. And then I'm thrilled to hear about what we're doing with social media, because I think that we, not just us, but we need to really contribute to social media through many different channels. Cities, the county, et cetera. We all need to be getting the word out for voter registration over the next 3 months. And then my ask also would be for all of you that are really working on the GOT activities, that we always make sure that voter registration is a piece to that and is addressed as we're doing phone banking and canvassing, et cetera. There is a National Voter Registration Day on September the 20th, so I'm hoping that we can do some special things on that day. We already, just with kind of word of mouth, as we've talked among ourselves about this, we already have about 15 folks that are interested in working on this. And we are scheduled for a training on Wednesday at 10 a.m. The DeKalb Voter Registration and Election Office is going to be training us on all of the rules and regs related to voter registration. So I'm hoping that more can join us. It's a Zoom call, just an hour long. And for those that can't make it and want to volunteer down the line, we will also have some other training initiatives available. So how can you help? First of all, really everyone on this call, help us get this word out. We are going to give you some stock kind of things to post that you could get out in social media, in any newsletters, if you're your neighborhood, through Nextdoor, through your church, any place that you can think, to get the word out about wanting folks to check their registration status and to know that they need to register by October 11th. I would guess a lot of people don't realize that when they got their driver's license, that their voter registration didn't come along with that. Help us identify high traffic locations so that we can be most effective with what we do out in the community. And then again, as I said, as you're doing other GOTV activities, integrate voter registration. If you want to volunteer specifically for this effort, would love to have you. The more people we have, the more we can do in terms of getting out across the county. So let me know if you are interested. I really think this will be fun. I think it's a positive way to engage with voters. Also looking for folks that would be interested in helping to coordinate with the colleges and high schools and local municipalities and elected officials. They all have newsletters too, and we want to get the word out. So email me, I guess, put it in the chat. I think if you can put your interest in the chat, then we will be able to follow up with you. And especially if you're interested in participating in the official training from the county election office, which is again Wednesday at 10 a.m. Let me know that so that I can get you that Zoom link and get you integrated into that. So a reminder, 93 days from today is the deadline for registering to vote. And we want to make a difference and get those 53,000 voters back to make a difference in those statewide races. So with that, I'll turn it back to Becky, or if anyone has any questions, happy to answer any as well.
Janet, there is a question in the chat from Robin. Has the number of voter registrations per month gone back to the previous levels? Do we know that?
I do not know that. I do not know that. They did go back statewide. They've gone back up, but I don't know the exact numbers here in DeKalb County. At the Board of Election meeting about a week ago, the numbers coming in and those going out were almost exactly the same. So it was staying neutral, and that's not the direction we need to be going up.
Okay, great. And can you speak, just one kind of sideways question, can you speak to COVID precautions at all as we talk about doing this?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about this because I'm writing up kind of a FAQ for the volunteers. And, you know, many of these events probably will be outside. I think we probably want to be safe. And I don't know if we want to, and Becky, you and I should probably have this conversation. If we require volunteers to be masked or not. Obviously, a lot of the community out there is not masked right now. So, but I think all of us need to do what we're comfortable with.
Okay, wonderful. And I see folks signing up in the chat, which is great. And if anybody is signing up and this is your first meeting and we do not have your email list, if you would make sure that you put your email in the chat also, that would be great. And again, just a final call for anybody interested in the voter registration push between now and October 11th, if you would put your name in the chat with voter registration. Thank you. Great thanks to Janet. And we are really looking forward to doing this in partnership with the DeKalb Dems. We are now going to ask, let me shift a little bit and ask Martha Laird to do a little bit of an update about Necessary Trouble and our voter protection efforts.
Sure. Right now, what we're doing, we have formed a team at the request of the Voter Protection Program of the Democratic Party to basically gather data from the county boards of elections. And the focus of that data will change as we proceed toward November. What we just completed was with 40 of us, we contacted all 159 counties. And what we got from them was the actual members of their board of elections, the head staff, and then the members of the board of elections, their names and contact information. And what that's going to be used for, right, at least originally, is to begin to train some of these folks, particularly the Democrats, on how to combat the challenges that voters are going to be getting to staying on the rolls. So, and that's beginning. So this information will probably be used right away. What our next job is going to be, we don't know yet, but it will be something that is needed for voter protection. That's all I can say. The way it works is you're assigned about 4 or 5 counties, and you will have those counties for the duration. So you may get to know your counterparts in the Board of Elections office fairly well. Maybe sometimes most of the folks in these offices are very open, hardworking folks. Sometimes they're a little hard to, most, not all, Martha Reese, I saw your eyes go up. Most, not all of them. But so it's nothing to be scared of. That's what maybe that's all I should say. Becky, anything else I should say about that? Oh, if you're interested, yes, put your name in the chat and just say vote pro, and we'll know what that means. Down the road, there will be, if you go to the, I'll put in the chat the Democratic Party's website. If you're interested in doing something like hotline work, voter protection hotline work, they're currently recruiting people for that. So you would sign up for that on the Democratic Party's website.
And let me just do a little acknowledging of that group. It is really kind of amazing that we have a group of 40 people who are dedicated to doing that kind of voter protection work in collaboration with the voter protection team of the Democratic Party. It's a huge and crucial effort. And so just again, if you are interested in that and are not already a part of it, put your name in the chat with voter protection or Vote Pro.
Sorry, one more. If you are currently working on our last project, then you're still in the group. Don't worry. Nobody's off unless you've told me you are.
Okay, great. Huge gratitude, huge gratitude. And before we go on to the next Troubler update, I just want to do a little shout out to Danielle Moore, who is on the meeting. If you have bought, yay, Danielle. Danielle is our t-shirt maven and organizer and deliverer and distributor. And if you have bought a Necessary Trouble t-shirt, just a little swag alert there. If you've bought a Necessary Trouble t-shirt in the last several months, then Danielle helped you buy it, and our great gratitude. It was a beast of a job, and so we are very grateful, Danielle. Thank you.
It was a labor of love. It was great to be texting you every 23 seconds, Becky. I appreciate you.
Okay, thank you. And next up is Robin Shahar is going to tell us about an effort that is going on with Deborah Gonzalez called Seats of Justice.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Becky. So Deborah Gonzalez is a candidate that Necessary Trouble supported for district attorney. She is an incredibly progressive DA, probably the most progressive in the state. And one of the things that she is doing is using art with youth with different art projects to help, number one, like preventatively to help kids not get involved with crime, and two, if they have already started to get involved with crime, use it as an intervention strategy. When they were cleaning out the courthouse, they found these 22 old oak chairs, and they are doing a project where it'll be a competition. And so kids will get a chair. They'll be partnered with adults who will be mentors, and they will decorate the chair in a way that kid thinks of justice. What is justice to them? And this is one part of their initiative. I mean, the District Attorney Gonzalez gave me more info on it, and I can tell you about other pieces of it, but this is what's happening now, and they are looking for donations. If you want to sponsor one of the 22 chairs, it's $25, and the link is in the chat. Also, they'll be giving out prizes, and so $50 or more, you'll be sort of acknowledged for that. If you do less, that's fine. And then if you're interested in like giving the exact amount for prize, you can email me or call me, and I'll tell you more about like what the prize levels are and stuff like that. But the bottom line is they would love donations to help with this project. And I think in general, just to know that District Attorney Gonzalez is so incredibly grateful for the ways that Necessary Trouble has supported her campaign. And then afterwards, we have supported her. Pat has a Keep On, Keep It On committee that helps people that we've elected to accomplish their goals. And, you know, DA Gonzalez is doing the kind of stuff that I would have wanted her to do, which is to take a different approach to people who are dealing with the criminal justice system and finding ways to keep them out of jail and become stabilized and productive. And this specifically also targets school to prison pipeline and trying to intervene with that as well. So it's a great project. If you have questions, let me know. That's it. By the way, Robin. I'm also going to put in the link in this chat, a link. She was on MSNBC talking about how she's not going to prosecute the heartbeat bill. So I'll put that MSNBC link in the chat for those who are interested. Okay, I'm sorry, Becky, go ahead.
That's okay. I just want to really emphasize what an amazing DA she is. She is just astonishing, not just a statewide model, but even a national model in terms of progressive DAs. So any help that you can provide her in this effort would be enormously appreciated.
Oh yeah, and please, if you're going to make a donation, put in the comment section that you're making it for this project. And if you want to like sponsor a chair or sponsor a prize, make that a comment as well.
Great. Thank you, Robin. And let me say another update also. The last time we met, we were joined by Nikita Hemingway. Because Nikita Hemingway, as many of you know, was a House District candidate that we supported a couple of years ago. She did not win her House District race, but she is running for Commissioner of Agriculture, and she crushed the primary. Absolutely crushed the primary, won without a runoff. And when she appeared before us at the last meeting, there were a number of troublers that were incredibly impressed. She is right in her sweet spot. She is so forward thinking. She has blossomed as a candidate. She was enormously inspiring. And a group from that meeting kind of emerged that really wanted to find a way to support Nikita Hemingway in her race for Agricultural Commission. And that group is now being convened. Rosea Shepherd, thank you so much for being willing to facilitate the convening of that group. Rosea, do you want to add anything since we have a couple of minutes? Do you want to add anything about that, that effort?
I just want to say we're having our first meeting on Tuesday at 1 p.m. It's a virtual meeting. So if you wish to find out what we're planning for Nikita's campaign, just put the word Nikita, your name and email in the chat box, and we'll pull that down and make certain that you get an invitation. And just so you know, what we're thinking about doing now is a fundraiser because doing a statewide race takes a lot of money. But we're also going to be doing the other kinds of things that you've been hearing about. Me, I love to do postcards because I can just sort of sit and zone out and just do that. But we're going to meet with the staff, their staff. We're going to fundraise and do whatever else they need. Thank you.
Wonderful. So if you're interested in helping with that, if you would put your name in the chat with Nikita, and Rosea will be in contact with you. And thank you to that group for self-organizing and rising in support of Nikita. She is an amazing, just a reminder, she would be the first elected Black Agricultural Commissioner in the country, and not even to mention Black female. Fourth generation farmer, extraordinary. The last thing I want to mention is just a little bit of heads up about something that is coming, not yet. In August, we have again the opportunity that any funds that are raised by Necessary Trouble in August up to $500 will be matched by the National Indivisible. Those are funds that can only be spent on nonpartisan activities, but they would go in this case to support the voter registration process. So if you would keep an eye out for that notice that will go out in August, that will be trying to raise some funds that can be matched for Necessary Trouble. Karen Davenport, do you have a question? You're muted.
Actually, I wanted to make an announcement that the DeKalb Coordinated Campaign Office is now open. And I'll put this in the chat, 5383 New Peachtree Road, Chamblee. And it's open from 10 to 7, Tuesday through Sunday. They had just begun to set up. So if anyone has metal utility shelves that they can loan for 5 months, a TV stand that they can loan for 5 months, 10 folding chairs, the director, Molly Cook, would really, really welcome those items. Thank you.
And just to also mention that Karen Davenport is our contact, is our conduit with the coordinated campaign. May all blessings rain upon her for that piece of work. And that's, unless anybody has any questions about any of that, that's it for the Troubler updates. And I'm gonna pass it back to PJ.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you, everyone, for those reports. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to know that we've got time to spare today, okay? We have done a phenomenal job of keeping on schedule and getting all of this wonderful, wonderful information out, okay? So troublers, I don't have anything else except that I need to let you all know that our next meeting is August the 14th. At 4 o'clock, and we want to see you there. And I just want to thank everyone. We're also pumped up for necessary trouble. Let's go hit butt. All right. Everybody have a great, great afternoon. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Thank you, PJ.
You quite welcome.
Thank you, PJ.
All right.
Great
All right.
meeting, PJ.
Okay. Bye.
Okay.
Hey, Pat, would you not sign us off just yet?
I'm gonna leave it on so that the recording keeps going.
Great.